had a joyful time. Um, to me, I felt like I fit right in. It being my first time, I fit right into what they're trying to do. Obviously, some wrinkles here and there in terms of like play calling. I missed, I think, 2 plays up tonight, so I got to be better in there. Um, but yeah, it was fun, man. I just tried, like I said, I think game one for me, I was just trying to impact the game any way that I can, not knowing how it was gonna go, and not just try to fill it out. But from the jump, I kind of just, I think it was good for me to take some of that time that I did and miss those couple of games, those 5 or whatever games, because I think it helped me in terms of, you know, building relationships on the off the court with them. So now in the game, I feel like everything was smooth.
Kobe, I'm sure you knew the video was coming.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that and the reception and just the overall feeling about being back here playing your first game?
I think I'm blessed, full of joy. I felt like I always say, I got to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me to play this game each and every day. You know, the main thing about me was when the trade happened, and then tonight you don't really know the impact you have on people, and and then the impact that people have on you, and that's very humbling for me. So for me, that was the biggest part. I got the ovation or whatever, but just so many people being here tonight, either wearing my jersey, calling my name. So for me, I just try to be in the moment, but also show ultimate gratitude in that moment. So try to stay grounded. But like I said, it's very humbling to find out how many people you impact through the game, this beautiful game that we play.
Was there any weird or funny moments interacting with the former teammates?
Nah, not really. Trey joking around during the game. Nah, not really. Matas guarded me a couple possessions. I tried to ISO Josh at the end of the quarter. And he started smiling after the quarter was over. But nah, it was cool. I think the funniest thing for me tonight was I think I was so ready to play. I like forgot my ankle braces. So the game about to start, I realized I ain't even got my ankle braces on. And then I think y'all seen it. I checked in the first time and I had my venom on my calf still. And Melo was like, "When you start wearing a knee brace?" And I was like, he was like, "Oh, brace it, give me that, bro." He was like, "Lock it." But I think it was just a lot of emotions going on, and I don't know. I was happy to be back out there for one, and I just didn't realize what I was doing.
How did the calf feel?
I felt good. It felt good coming out. I felt like I was, I still played with a lot of speed, a lot of force, so it felt good.
I remember talking to you in Charlotte about Knipple as an opponent. Was it like, what have you seen from him and then playing alongside him the first time? What was that like?
It's different, man. I'm gonna be honest when I say this. In terms of shooting that ball, it's maybe him and in terms of who I play with, him and Zach LaVine, those two guys make shots and they shoot that ball, and so he's him and Zach right like neck and neck for me in terms of who I play with. Some of the only guys that no matter what shot they take, no matter where it's from, I think it's going in. Like no matter what it looked like, if he off balance, on balance, if he feet set, feet not set, like I think it's going in. So, yeah, man, I've been super. Obviously, I was impressed with him when we played him during the season, but I've been super impressed with him, and it's been it's been a joy just getting to know him as a person as well. Him being 19, whatever, 20 years old, and him being so grounded. Obviously, he's having a lot of success. And day to day, he never changes who he is. So that's been the most impressive.
Kobe, I believe you said earlier today that you were blessed that your professional basketball career started here. Can you just look back on the whole thing and just talk more about that?
Yeah, like I said, man, I always thank Pax and Guard for giving me the opportunity that they drafted me, and then AK and Mark when they took over the reins. They obviously could have traded me, but they kept me here. I just thank the organization for everything they did for me. Like I said, I enjoyed my time here. For all the ups and the downs, I embraced it all. And like I said, I was blessed and fortunate to be drafted to such a prestigious organization, such a dope city with some of the best fans in the world. So I try to keep that perspective through the ups and the downs. I had a lot of fans that never gave up on me, and I appreciate them for that. And a lot of people in this arena, in terms of the staff and front office or whatever, never gave up on me, and I appreciate them giving me an opportunity, even when they didn't have to. So for me, I just like I said, try to be in the moment. You just try to keep that perspective of looking back, could have went so many different ways. I just give them a lot of credit for sticking with me.
Coach usually in these return games, it usually feels like it usually feels like you go to the other side to sort of reunite with your teammates and everybody's there. I mean, the team that you knew,
Gone.
Is that weird for you?
Yeah, I mean it's not weird because I'm one of the ones that's gone. It's not really weird to me, but the guys that's still there that I got to rekindle with. I mean, it's just different, being out there, seeing a whole new different team than when I was there. It's different for sure, but like I said, man, that's the business of it. That's the nature of it, right? So a lot of stuff us players that go, we can't even control. So.
Coby, you've used the word a lot here, and you seem lighter even when you were shooting out this morning, just kind of happier to yourself. Do you feel like it's maybe artificial, just being able to get this deal and kind of get through everything in the last couple of weeks?
Obviously, yeah, because you go to a different team, a different situation, right? You want to play. Like the one thing I learned from CP is, him being one of my mentors, my big bro. No matter like what you've done on this team, when you go to a different team, you still gotta prove yourself to these guys. Like you still gotta show these guys. You still gotta show these guys that you can hoop. That you can hoop too. Like Chris said, that one of the things he learned, especially like going to OKC, is he kind of felt like I got to prove myself, even though he been where he been at. And for me, I think it's also an opportunity like to prove to my teammates like I can hoop. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to do that. And the one thing I will say is about in terms of relationships, like when you on a team at a high level, like you grow closer in the trenches when you in the trenches with guys, and you can grow way closer doing that than you can do just chopping it up. You know what I'm saying? Like when you in the trenches with guys and this guy's relying on you, and you talking to him, y'all communicating. Like I got his back, he got my back. That's how you build a different type of relationship with guys. So that was my main thing that I was missing. I'm like, I need to be out there, not just because I love the game, but also because like I want to grow with these guys, and I want to figure out how I can play with them, but also just grow closer with them and my teammates.
When you talk about kind of that leadership aspect, I was curious kind of about the same thing with the guys that are still in the other locker room. Like, what kind of advice or conversations have you had with guys like Matas or Josh about how they can kind of step up into a leadership role the way you did?
I think Matas continued to do it. I think Josh continued to do it. We haven't had much about leadership wise. I think those guys, the main things we talked about, obviously when you get traded to another team, you talk about, like how is it over there, what's going on, like you like it, how they treat you, just the human part of it, the well being. But I think, man, like Josh was already taking steps in his leadership role this year. I've seen such a huge leap from not my time here compared to his first year here to second year here. And I think obviously you see it, Modest like, ball is in his hands a lot more. And I think it's good for him to go through these last whatever how many games just because the best teacher is experience. So now he has to be one of the go-to guys, the one option, two option every single night. And that's going to force him to be more of a leader. It's going to force him to be more vocal. It's going to force him to put him in positions where he has to be more of a leader. But I still talk to those guys all the time. Me and Mata send each other memes on Instagram all the time. But like I said, it's been more about just how you doing. Keep your head above water. I know, you're in a different position. That's those type of things. I know it's a lot of change going on, but we ain't really sat down and talked about like, how can you lead. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think so sometimes, but like to me, we've had the third quarter has been an issue for us, right? And again, I think Charlotte played great. They shared the ball. They obviously shot the ball incredibly well from the 3-point line. I'm not taking anything away from them, but we've got to be better than getting beat by 26 points in one quarter. You know what I mean? Especially when it's a 3-point game, and we've got to, I just in terms of calling the timeouts, one. The turnovers are a major problem, they're a major problem, and they continue to be a problem, and we've continued to talk about them. We got to try to get that resolved. Okay, and then the other part of it too is I think if you look at the first quarters of when we started with a lot of new guys, right? Balls popping around, we're sharing it. We've had, I think several 30-point first quarters. And then we break away from our identity and we get, I think, a little bit too much into ourselves or trying to inject themselves or poor decisions or, defensive assignments that are blown. And it's hard to sustain really good basketball playing that way.
And so when that change happens, what are you seeing and what do you talk about to the team?
Just the ball movement, in particular on offense, guys putting themselves in harm's way and making plays that just are not there. Fundamentally, playing off of 2 feet, not leaving your feet and getting caught in the air. And then the other part of it too is we've got to be much, much better. And I'm always, a little bit with the communication part. Some of these guys' coverages or communication may be a little bit different from where they previous came from, so I am sensitive to that. But we don't really talk enough on defense, and we've got to be able to do a better job there defensively. There's too many blown assignments, on a regular basis. And like I said, I think the game starts out and our intentions are really, really good, and then we break away. That's what I see. I see a huge identity shift from how we're playing to start it to how the game starts to progress. And then inevitably coming out of the half, we've had these quarters where we've given up 44 points, over 40 points, and we're going to have a hard time, sometimes scoring. And we have to, play to our identity for a full 48 minutes, and that's going to require guys sacrificing, and everybody's got to be able to give something up for the benefit of the team.
Billy, you mentioned that third quarter, and it just seemed not only were the turnovers a killer, but it just seemed like Charlotte was deflecting, diving on the floor. It just seemed like they were just out hustling, doing everything, blow-bys. It just seemed, as that quarter went on, guys were just kind of letting go of the rope a little bit more. Did you see that? I mean, was that disappointing to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the disappointing part was, I think and I agree with everything you said. I totally saw that too. I think when there's mistakes that are made and they're constantly compounded, I think it takes away the fuel and the energy and the gas from our team. And we've got to be tougher than that. And we also got to be more responsible to that, and we don't have practice time. We got to try to do the best job we can walking through and watching tape. But, quite honestly, I think all of us players and coaches have got to do a much, much better job, in terms of trying to help one another. But I totally agree. I thought that, I don't know, I sensed a frustration being deflated, and like we got to be able to we can't come out of like timeouts and turn the ball over. I mean, when you're talking about stuff, and then we like have 3 right in a row. Well, we just had a turnover, we can't have another one. And, I think, I know we don't have everybody here, but, as Josh and Trey have come back and Jalen was back last game, I mean, the 3 games leading up to this game, we've got 63 turnovers. You're not beating anybody turning the ball over like that. It's just crazy. Some of the turnovers are amazing to me.
What do you think of Matas?
Well, I think it's like we talked about, pregame. I think maybe Sam was asking me about, he's got to play more off the dribble to be able to score. I thought he did a better job and he was more decisive there. He kind of got into the paint area and he made some shots. He got to the basket, he made some drives, and he made some threes. But that's what he's got to do. He's got to play more off the dribble to score, and find ways to maybe come off, step back behind the line, take a 3, get to a good spot on the floor where he can make a high percentage shot for himself. I thought, offensively, I thought he was very efficient and decisive.
That mix of midi and spotting up, like everything Matas did, it feels like you've almost, for him to go out and do it as much as he did, it feels like you've almost enabled him.
We've had a few conversations.
I was going to ask what the conversations have been like as far as like, is that just the change in the pecking order?
No, I think, we had a really, really good talk actually yesterday, about some of this stuff, and I know like we tried to, like, you're never going to go through a game and never take a non-paint 2, right? But that's not going to happen, right? But you can't live in that as a team, because if you look even like tonight, they took 50-something threes. So, you start having everybody playing in the mid-range, you're going to have no chance to win analytically if we would obviously play much better than we did. Trying to help him understand the shots that he needs to take in those areas of the floor, and then also being a little bit more crafty off the dribble and not giving it away. Like, start to drive and get the guy backing up, and now step back and look for your shot. Get a little bit more herky-jerky. I think if you look at really, really good offensive players in this league and scorers in this league, they're hard to guard because you're not quite sure what they're going to do. Are they going to go by you? Are they going to step back? Are they going to shoot a three? Are they going to shot fake? And it's hard to handle a lot of those high-level offensive players. And I've tried to talk to Matas that he's got to be a lot more shiftier and craftier with the basketball. And I'm not saying I gave him a license to shoot, non-paint twos, but I told him when you get to areas and you create separation, that's okay. The ones you can't take is the one-legged fadeaway. Like, you got to lose that. That's just, you're not going to make enough of those. But I thought the ones where he got in there, he was on balance and he got good length and he can make that shot. So, yeah, I want to try to keep helping him grow, but that's going to be the growth for him offensively is, can he play more decisively and effectively off the dribble, by not holding it. I think some of the stuff, I think you guys have probably seen is, he's dribbling and dribbling and dribbling back and forth and trying to find like a crack or a seam to drive, and then he gets bodied and he loses the ball. Where there's advantages, he's got to keep the advantage by trying to keep the defender off balance a little bit more.
As you said, he seems to be responding to some of these things, but he said, whether working on his game, what you've seen, management kind of pointed to him and Giddey. So, those are our guys for going forward. And it seems like since he's come back from the injury, other than the game where he started, he made threes like right away.
Who's that, Matas?
Giddey,
I'm sorry.
But he seems to progress. Coming out of the injury. Is it the injury? Is it being focused on? He's, other than when the game he shot well, he really seems to have trouble getting going.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, just in talking to him, he shot the ball really, really well from the three-point line. I think he was maybe 5 for 8 in that game where he had 27 points, right? So if you're shooting the ball well, you're going to every player is going to score, right? And especially he's going to be out there. I think the hardest part for Josh, quite honestly, you're probably better off to speak to him, but I tried to talk to him about this today at shoot-around. The first thing is he's playing with an entirely new group of guys, and I think the spacing and the cutting just sometimes randomly as a point guard can throw you off a little bit. I think that's one. I think the other thing too is I think the minute restriction has really, really been disruptive to his flow. Because selfishly as a coach, I'm trying to keep he or Trey out there just to keep some balance inside the team in terms of somebody out there that can talk to these guys during free throws or dead balls or help them get organized. So when you got those two guys out there, Josh starting, then he kind of sits a period, and then he's got, not closing the second quarter, and then you're trying to save some minutes potentially if you need him in the fourth, and then he's sitting the entire half, and he's starting, and he's coming out again, and then he's sitting basically to the last 6 minutes of the fourth. I think it's hard for him, and coupled with new players. So he hasn't really been able to maybe get back in the flow like that. And, I do think that, for him, he's getting downhill. He's getting through him. I just think the biggest thing he's got to clean up is the turnovers. Quite honestly, I had looked down. He had four turnovers, 5 turnovers in 18 minutes. Like, he's too good of a player. He's too smart of a player. He's got too good of a feel for that to happen. But I do think that the new group trying to get accustomed with one another. He hadn't been out for a while. Hadn't played with them, and then also the minute restriction. I think.
One of the things, if you're looking from the outside, to digress with it. We were talking about before. You mentioned third quarters and the repeating theme game after game. If you're kind of being cynical about it, you'd say, well, that's when teams sort of take you seriously. When they take you seriously, coming out of halftime, they space out the game. How much is that, and how much is that? You're just undermanned, and you just can't.
Well, yeah, I do think that definitely happens. I think that one of the things we had talked about with the Denver game, and one of the things that we had talked about Detroit game, and even tonight's game, right, where the game's kind of there, is that these teams are going to ramp it up. That's exactly what ends up happening. That's the only thing they can do is ramp it up. Like, that's generally most teams' response, right? But we came out in the first, whatever it was, We had one possession, really, really good ball movement. I think Matas made a three. But I think we turned the ball over 4 of our first 5 possessions. I don't think that has anything to do with the opponent. I think that's more on us. And then all of a sudden the lead goes to 7, then it goes to 16, and it just kind of snowballed to Joe's point. And, we've got to be able to, when that happens, not kind of have all these self-inflicted wounds, quite honestly, where missed blockouts, second chance. They get an offensive rebound, they throw it out. 3, we turn the ball over, run out, dunk. Like there's a lot of stuff we contributed to in that, and I do understand that sometimes defensively, Detroit's like a really good defensive team. They're really, really physical. Sometimes we can get bogged down, but I didn't think that was the case tonight, particularly to start the game.
Thanks.
I don't really know, man. I mean, the shots fell in, but like we lost the game, so it means nothing. We got to figure out how to win games.
How frustrating is this last couple of weeks been? Obviously, you have the trade deadline where bets that kind of raised you get sent out, and now obviously they're losing, which I know you are no fan of losing. That's one of the first things you said when you came here is you came here to win.
I'm gonna keep saying it. It is what it is. The trades happen, whatever. It is what it is. You got to move on, move forward, and we got to figure it out as a group. And I know we're capable and we're all on the same page to do that. We just have to come in every day, ready to work, and try to get better.
You think there's enough time to kind of fix this and get this on the right track?
Yeah, definitely. When we control the things we can control, we're going to be a great team. And Billy always says it. You get 10 guys that are all on the same page and ready to fight, you can win anything. So we can figure it out. I know we can.
Why do you think guys aren't on the same page? Do you think it's just because of lack of practice, lack of familiarity, or just trying to do too much, or trying to fit in?
I mean, of course, when you trade half the team, it's and you bring in new guys, it's tough. It's no excuse though. We gotta come in and figure it out. And I'm saying again, I know we're capable of doing that.
For what it's worth, Billy was just saying you guys have had conversations recently. It feels like he's enabling you to take different shots, and I know we talked all year with him about the mid range, and it might not be advantageous for you, but now you guys are sort of exploring it. I mean, what is that like for you to sort of take on this larger level?
Yeah, we had a long talk yesterday. I came in the gym like probably 8 o'clock at night. He was in there. He's always working. He's always trying to help the team. He's a winner, and we had a long talk, probably like 2 hours, an hour and a half, and we talked about some of the shots, the mid range, all of that, and I'm not gonna say what else we talked about, but we had a great talk, and mid range or not, it's not gonna win you the games. It's a collective group effort to try to win those games, and but we did have a good talk though.
Did you feel like you were scoring more off the bounce stuff tonight?
I mean, yeah, probably, yeah.
What led to that? Just read the defense, or was it just coincidental they came after talking with Billy, or was it reading the defense, or a combination thereof?
It's a combination.
Well, this is just your second year, first year starting the whole season. So, and you're a player who sort of built on evolving, evolving the game. So just working on more of a blend, working on getting more things into the game, whereas you are comfortable with shooting or something, and now you're shooting threes. I mean, so now trying to blend with that, other elements to keep the defense off balance.
I try to just read what's out there. He was telling me just play with a free mind, but be competitive. That's what matters. Just going out there and competing. That's what he cares about, and that's what will win games for you. And yeah, I just try to read the defense out there, and whatever I see, I'm going to try to do and react.
Matas, do you feel like being able to score better off the bounce and be more efficient with those type of actions, that that's the most critical piece of your next development?
Repeat the question.
So, like, you being able to do what Billy is harping on, being able to score with the ball in your hands, and score on the dribble, do you feel like that's the next like critical piece in your development?
Yeah, that's also something we talked about. I'm sorry. I want to win. I want to win games, and that's what it's all about, is winning games, basketball games. But that will come moving forward. I'm a worker. I believe in working and going out every day, grinding, perfecting your craft, and you know. But I want to win games and help the team.
Matas, to that point, just being frank, the word is going to get tossed around these last how many games is tank. I know you guys are not using that word. The staff is not trying to tank. The players are not trying to tank. But at the deadline, you guys shipped out so many guys. This team doesn't really feel built for cohesion. I guess what is that like for you to be in this position for a team that a lot of people think are tanking?
Yeah, as you said, I don't really I don't really believe in stuff like that. It's every time I step out to do something competitive, I'm trying to win, and all the guys are trying to win. Billy's trying to win. Billy is harping on us that we're gonna go out and compete every night. Win, lose, draw. We're gonna also get up the next day and work. But we don't. I don't really like that. I don't really like that word. I mean, and people might think that, but I'm going out and trying to win every night, and all these guys are too.
How much is the emotional toll? How much is the emotional toll? Because it's a lot to have to handle.
I mean, I'm always gonna wake up the next day with a smile on my face because I'm alive and I'm blessed to being able to play basketball at the highest level, and it's truly a blessing to be able to do my dream job and waking up and one thing I try to build is a short memory for myself and focusing on the next game. As soon as I get out the shower, Michael Frazier always told me, as soon as you get out the shower, you're on to the next game. The games come so fast, and I've been working with a mental health coach about building a mentality. Your mentality matters because the outcome of your life is dependent on your perspective, and going out working and trying to be the best player you can be every possession, and that's what I've been focusing on.
At all about just kind of this locker room maybe losing itself, especially with you guys not knowing each other very well? Do you just kind of worry about being able to find or keep that level of cohesion?
Yeah, we're trying to stick together. Of course, we're in a slump right now. I mean, everybody sees it, and I'm gonna keep saying it. Like, I know we're capable of getting out of it, and I believe in this group of guys. I don't care like who's on the team. I think we go out there and we're all on the same page. We can win games, and that's what we can do, and we're gonna figure it out. I know we are.
I'm not talking about being selfish, but one of the common denominators of all the elite teams in the NBA is having a guy.
Yeah.
Having somebody. If you look at the best teams in the league, you're also looking at the best scorers in the league.
Right.
And so I mean, we always overuse the word aggression, but in part, you need to be that. It's not being selfish. It's being, that's in the best interest of the team. With many cases, how do you look at it?
First, I'm gonna be what the team needs me to be, and if that's scoring that night, that's what it's gonna be. If it's defending, I try to figure out during the game what the team actually needs for us. Like today was scoring because we couldn't get buckets, and we were trying to hit some shots and they didn't go in, and that's what it was tonight. But I try to always focus on what the team needs, and I agree with what you're saying though. But sometimes like even like Cade Cunningham when he played against us 2 games ago. He was just diming, finding guys, playing defense. Like, yeah, so that's what winners do.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking.